fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognise brake markers, you'll find out which curbs to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise. And you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS Quick Reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire Global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
V8SCOPS returns for another round, and we're here for the support series presented by racingsims.co.nz. This is the V8SCOPS support series from Watkins, Glen International Raceway. One of the most spectacular tracks on the V8SCOPS schedule because it provides intense, close, hard, and interesting racing. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me for the racing for tonight, at least for the V8 portion of the racing, we've got Nick Scrave. Nick, this is going to be a very, very entertaining night of racing. Watkins Glen always turns on an amazing show. What are you looking forward to seeing here?
Yeah, how you doing there, Jay? And thanks for having me. Yeah, you're exactly right. They're very exciting racing. Bit different from what we saw at Donington only a little bit ago. So it's going to be all about that draft and cars needing to stick together and working together as well. So not very technical. There's only really a handful of corners here for this track, so it's a really different application to what we've seen earlier in this season.
100%, and in regards to that too, there's not too many braking zones, only 4 braking zones for the entire circuit, at least hard braking zones through turn 1 up through the bus stop chicane, a little braking zone for the carousel, and then the final 2 corners you do have to use the brake as well. Before we get into racing action or qualifying action, here is the championship standings after round number 3. And Aaron Gilbert leads the way ahead of Simon Vella and Simon Mazzomo, but that battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, those guys have less than 10 points between them. It is really tight at the top of the championship. One bad result will absolutely throw a big curveball in this championship fight.
Yeah, that's exactly right there, Jay. And just even, we're having a look at some of the qualifying times just off screen at the moment there. So Henry King, sitting 4th in the championship at the moment, series administrator as well, is setting the pace here at the moment. But you're exactly right. And it's one of those things as well, if you make a very small mistake here, it's going to throw you all the way back down to the to that back of the field there.
Conditions for this race as well, very, very decent. It's quite warm in the air. It means the track temp around 32 degrees. We're running in towards the nighttime sky, so by the end of race 2 will be almost dark, but at the moment the sun and the UV still playing a factor. We've heard from some drivers that they may actually struggle to make the tyres last an entire race, just how much tyre wear there is here. But yeah, that'll provide an interesting little element for later on when we get into the racing. But as you said, qualifying underway at the moment, and Henry King leading the way. Only driver to do a 1 minute 1 minute 8 as he runs way off the circuit through the second last corner. But this track is an amazing circuit and always provides brilliant tight racing just because of the massive slipstreaming nature of it.
Yeah, I think Henry might have been showing off a little bit there. He was well and truly pitched sideways going into that corner. But as we were saying before, yeah, tyre wear seems to be such a critical factor there. You can see these big sweeping right-hand turns there. I think that's Daniel Stevens' picture, if I'm not mistaken, from Middle Finger Racing there. But I think there's going to be a real big struggle with that left-hand front tyre. So is it going to be a conversation? It is a conversation about tyres, but people are conserving tyres and making sure that they're not pushing too early on in the piece there.
Yeah, exactly right. They are trying to make the tyres last, which is a lot easier said than done, considering how much load there is through the tyres in this car. Of course, no escape rule in effect, as is for all of the V8SCOPS races. That's why you're seeing drivers driving their cars into the pit lane after doing a qualifying run. On screen, David Coleman about to complete a lap, and that looks like it's his personal best. No, it's not. Current best is a 1:10.0, so he needs to find a little bit of ground to be able to put it up any further on the grid. Currently P10 for Fishy Motorsports driver. I say I do love that livery. That Dayglow yellow-green colour absolutely pops on that car.
Yeah, even with like the little highlights of chrome there, so making the most of those spec maps that they released a little bit later on, where you could have chrome there and the big aggressive fish there, but you can see him as he comes through the little that chicane section there, coming all the way around the back, called the loop. So you can see it almost feels like it goes on forever there, keeping nice and tight, trying to make it last the shortest amount of distance as you can. It's we've seen some pretty exciting racing here, not only in the sim world but in the real life as well. I do believe they run the NASCARs around here as a road course, as he's just a little bit too wide there and it's ejected him off. So potentially, if he's going to go back into the pits and chuck on another set of tyres there, but possibly choosing to stick back out there.
Let's jump on board with Henry King, who is the pace setter. Get a bit of an idea of this circuit. Yeah, right, this circuit is used in the NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, Marcus Ambrose famously picking up victory in the Xfinity Series and almost victory in the Cup Series here, but Henry King on board up through the S's. Absolutely committed section. With this car, the older build V8, you are flat the whole way through that section. Absolute commitment plus. And hitting the brakes just at the marker board where the track feeds out through the chicane that was installed for NASCAR and then through the carousel. One of the most iconic sections of track. As you said before, the corner never ends, and it's really hard to make sure you time your exit and your closing stage of the lap, because it can sucker you in to put the power down a little bit too early. Second last corner, very, very difficult apex to get, can very easily throw you wide, and then the final corner, again, you can get thrown wide very easily. You want to use as much of that curb as you can, but you've got to get back on the circuit quickly to not run off the circuit. That time is almost P1 again. Actually, it would have put him P1 again, so very, very good lap there from Henry King. 109 flat. King is the pace setter at the moment.
Yeah, it was just on that onboard there as well. It's so difficult to almost see the apexes because the corners are so big and so large. There we've got Daniel Stevens behind his teammate.
Oh, nice lap.
Potentially, that is a very good lap. That's going to put him up there into third position.
Yeah,
so lifting him up.
Gavin Cox there just ahead, using a bit of draft, which we will see a lot of this weekend, not only in this race, but in the Legends race later on and in V8SCOPS proper on the weekend.
There we go, running it. Oh, it's millimetre perfect there by Jaden Mollenhauer. Runs it all the way to the grass. Don't want to go too wide there, or it could be pretty disastrous. I think the speeds that they're going through there is roughly around that 150, 160 kilometre an hour mark. So such a high speed corner there, and they reach 175 to 180 k's an hour as they come out. So really, really high speed here. We're very different to what we've seen, as we've seen in the past with some of the Australian and European tracks.
And this track is definitely a staple of V8 SCOPS. It's a track that has appeared in each V8 SCOPS schedule from Season 1. And competitiveness of racing, I mean, it's seen some of our best V8 SCOPS finishes. Of course, we had the controversial race 2 years ago, which ended with Hillsell and Burton bumping each other to the finish line, which gave Jake Burton his first win. But that was filled with 8 safety car periods. So fingers crossed we don't see something like that tonight. I think smaller field might help with only 13 cars. That will mean that we're going to see a very, very compact field as well. These guys are going to have to be patient. With such a small field, mistakes are going to be amplified as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They'll all be sitting, all sitting on each other's bumpers there, about 5/10 or so, or even a little bit closer there. So making sure that they give each other plenty of room, especially in those braking zones. Thankfully, there's not too many braking zones around this track. A lot of it's held almost pretty well flat stick there. As one board with Michael Ward, a new fastest lap for him there at 1:58.5. Sorry, no, so that was his outlap. That was his outlap. Yeah. So, see how he goes here. Trying to get those tyres up to temperature pretty quick there.
Yeah, and as you said, his outlap was that last lap. So his best lap at 1:09.6. You're looking to get a little bit more than that. He only needs a 10th to gain 2 positions. So he can gain 1/10, get himself a 9.5. That will put him into P5, but that won't do it because he's way off the circuit. That run done for him. He'll bring it into the pits, get some fresh tyres and go again. No one really absolutely lighting the border light in regards to times at the moment. Everyone's either on an outlap or decided to just calm it down a little bit and maybe go for one last late dash with only 2 minutes left on the clock in this qualifying session.
I dare say there'll be a few people trying to get their head around the tyre wear that they're currently experiencing there. So possibly a few race simulation laps. We see Nick Mitchell coming around the back of the circuit there.
And
a little bit off the...
I was just going to say race simulation laps too. There's been some drivers that are struggling after only 11 or 12 laps. So just trying to understand tyre pressures and changing pressures throughout the race going to be very, very important if we do see drivers take tyres in this race. Just see Tom O'Connor has just moved up a spot into P7. So that little pack between Tregarthen and Michael Ward now very, very tight as Nick Mitchell crosses the line. No improvement for him. Stay in position 13. And from first to second, he's actually got very, very tight. And I've just seen Henry King purple first sector. So we could see some big, big improvements on times right now.
A little bit of a late charge there as we're just on board with Aaron Gilbert. 1-2 for the teammates there at the moment. They're with Henry King and Aaron Gilbert. So just coming around through the backside of the circuit now.
Yeah, missed the apex there.
Yeah, run just a little bit wide there and potentially having to wipe off a bit of speed there to make the corner as he come around. So into the pits he goes. That's his session done.
Henry King about to come across the line. Will we see an improvement on this final lap? 8-9. Yes,
yeah,
it does improve.
890. So yeah, that's it's put him 4-100. Oh, yeah, 4-100s there ahead of his teammate Aaron Gilbert. So putting them in some pretty strong footing here.
Gavin Cox, purple first sector, very, very quick second sector. We could see him jump up the field at the moment. Currently P4, doesn't need to find too many positions. Too much time to gain positions. If he gets a 10th, that'll put him up one more spot. So will he get that? This looks very, very good.
Yeah, he's poised very well there on the bar, and that's
no improvement.
No improvement there. So thought he might have had it there on that draft. I think he might have taken off a little bit too much speed there through a few of those last corners there.
He might have been closing up a little bit too close to his teammate in Daniel Stevens while he was drafting behind. Michael Ward has done personal best first and second sectors, but it's just ruined it through the second last corner. I think he might have got a little bit too excited about how good his delta was.
Oh, ran it a little bit wide there through that last, so he'll come across the checkered. No improvement there, so we'll be starting from 8th position, still inside the top 10. So nice showing there from Michael Ward.
Aaron Gilbert's gone back out, but session is run and done. So qualifying over for event number 7, the 4th running of our V8 series in the racingsims.co.nz V8SCOPS support series. And this is the starting grid for race number 1. And it is as follows, with Henry King starting this one from pole position. Aaron Gilbert in second. So we got Henry James Racing on the front row. Then we got second row with the 2 drivers of Daniel Stevens and Gavin Cox. Third row will be Nathan Tregarthen and Jaden Mullenhauer. Then we go over the page, Tom O'Connor, Michael Ward, Anthony Green, David Coleman, Simon Mazzomo, Mark Dial. And our last driver to put in a qualifying lap was Nick Mitchell. He will start from 13th position as we just wait for the session to tick over to race mode. Won't take us too long before we get into this one. Very, very awesome track for racing, as we said. We're going to see a lot of drafting. I think we're going to see a lot of strategy with this race.
Yeah, I was just looking at those times as well. Not too much in it. It's only a little bit over 5/10 there, or about 7/10, splitting the whole field. So, yeah, I reckon that we're in for a real treat.
A 26-lap race. 2 26-lap races for our drivers tonight. Do 26 laps now. We have a little break when you'll jump in the car, being the Legends car, and have yourself a little run, and then we'll run another 26-lap race. Of course, the grid set off the positions in this first race. Looking forward to seeing how this one does play out, and watching how these drivers work their way through the field if they have started down the back. I know that some drivers who have decent race pace have started a little bit further back, and some of the drivers up towards the front will struggle a little bit for race pace, so that will provide a little bit of a mix-up as we get into this race. Maybe 6, 7, 8 laps in, we'll start to get very, very spicy as those positions start to shuffle.
Yeah, it's exactly right there, and such a great look there for the Henry James Racing and middle finger there. We'll potentially see a bit of teamwork there between these 4. Only time will tell.
Just waiting for the timer to run out. Got 20 seconds left on the clock. All of our drivers are on the grid. We will get this race underway. 52 of Henry King, the 03 of Aaron Gilbert on the front row in those silver Jinx Shifters cars, and then just behind the MFR cars. New look for those guys. Purple and gold and silver. I must say they do look very, very splendid out there on track. As we get ready to go. Green flag flies. A horrible launch though from Aaron Gilbert, and Daniel Stevens did get that jump very, very well. And Stevens is going to get into P2 by the time they get to the apex of turn 1.
Yeah, Aaron Gilbert there, who's almost, I think, potentially falling asleep there on the line, so losing about half a tenth there, and that's opened the door up ever so slightly there, but he's going to cut back across there of the middle finger racing car, so he's managed to save his position there. All pretty clean run though so far.
Yep, nice and clean at the start of this one. Or now you can see a bit of weaving in the back there. Michael Ward defending, and they're 3 wide coming into the bus stop. And somehow they've made it through.
Yeah, it's a bit of jostling position for positions and stuff here, but they do need to understand this is, even though it's a sprint race, still got about half an hour or so in it, and it can definitely not be won there on the first lap. We're just seeing them fan out there just a little bit further down the pack here as they go 2 wide.
Simon Mazzomo through on Tom O'Connor. Sorry, Anthony Green. Green now gets back through. They're side by side. No, Mazzomo's dropped in behind. And Mazzomo making up a spot, and it was 2 spots on the first lap. And now David Coleman looking to come back. That's a huge launch, and he just pulls it up. That was very, very close. I thought we were going to see a little bit of tears there, but well driven by both those drivers.
Yeah, that was a very late braking zone there, and holding it in quite early there. You can see he's lost a little bit of that drive out there. See Mizomo on the back of another car there. I think that might be Anthony Green there. So Mizomo on a really big run there at the moment. We're just cutting across to his webcam feed at the moment. See if he'll give us a bit of a wave.
He's listening
He's
in as well.
absolutely oh, he is. He can hear what's going on.
Yeah, he is. He's listening into us, so he knows what we're saying. We did tell him that if he made a mistake, we're going to take multiple super slow-mos, so enjoy that, Mez. As he gets that position finally up into ninth, but at the front of the field, Henry King starting to break away a little bit. And Aaron Gilbert, looks like he may just be holding up these guys of Stevens, Cox, and Tregarthen, who have all stuck there. Nathan Tregarthen doing a very, very good job of applying pressure to the back of Gavin Cox. Not quite close enough to get the move done, but he is getting very, very close to getting that move done. Not sure if he wants to get the move done, because of course you can pass too early in these sort of races where draft is so important. To work together, you can break yourself away into a little pack, and then you can fight without having to worry about anyone being behind.
Yeah, it's exactly right there. And we're just looking on the timer as they cross the line there. About a second there between King and Gilbert there. So Henry King absolutely wanting to check out here. So we're just seeing a few of the damaged cars there. I think that might be Mark Dole there with a bit of damage there on the front. So not too sure what's happened there. We might have to try and see if we can catch a replay a little bit later on there.
See if we can grab a replay. Let me see if I can get it working. How good is it when I keep clicking the wrong button? You'd think I'd know what I'm doing by now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's yep, here we cut over to the VRS replay.
So he said that they made it through cleanly on the first lap, but lap 2 didn't quite go as clean. You see the 3 cars involved, the 37 of Nick Mitchell, Anthony Green there in the 308, Mark Dial, who has parked the car unfortunately. And he may be done.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for those drivers there. There's not much you could really do. He was well and truly out of control there as he came across the racing line. So cutting back to our lead pack here at the moment. They're all sitting in pretty tight here, Roy. Just on board here with Nathan Tregarthen. Oh, a little bit wide there. I think that might have been by Gavin Cox there, almost opening up the door a little bit. You can see that's lost a bit of time. It's going to give Nathan the run here out of the loop there at the back. Just showing a nose there and tucking back in. You know, it's early days here at the moment.
Thought about making the move, but decided it wasn't quite the right time. Didn't quite have enough momentum. And what that little mistake has done is put a little bit of a gap between Gavin Cox and his teammate in Daniel Stevens. It's now at around about 0.7 of a second. Stevens won't want to worry about what's behind him at the moment. He needs to focus eyes forward and make sure he sticks with Aaron Gilbert. Those two, the drivers running very, very wide at the edge of the turn 1. You can do that without penalty at this circuit. It is allowed as long as you get the car back on the circuit before the grass. You can run as wide as you like. Of course, if you run too wide, it absolutely negates any point of doing it. But running a little bit wider than that line, perfectly fine in these cars.
That's exactly right there. I've just seen him cross the line there as well with Gilbert, about 0.7 there to Henry King. So still inside that draft zone at the moment. So it's where he wants to be at the moment. He does not want to fall off the back of his teammate's car there. We're just looking at the back towards Nathan Tregarthen there. Whether or not he's going to make another run, I don't think he's close enough. So we'll have to sit back in again there. But you could see out of these two, might be Tregarthen there just with that little bit extra pace.
Yeah, Tregarthen definitely has a little bit more pace at the moment as Mark Dial finally gets back out on the circuit after getting his damage repaired. Anthony Green also back out, but is around about 40 seconds behind the next car in the field. Top 5 have broken a little bit of a gap as well. Got Mullenhauer just behind there you can see. We saw there too, Mark Dial coming out of the pits a little bit slow. Back out, and Michael Ward doing a very, very good job of sticking with. I love that shot of that wall. It just creeps up so close. Sticking with Jaden Mullenhauer. very, very tough, that corner 2 up the hill through turn 3. You can so easily hit the wall. Is running a little bit wide is Millenhauer. Michael Ward almost able to make it, take advantage of it, but not quite close enough.
I was just about to say there as well, Michael Ward, such a cool paint there on his car as well. So just see that gap there, just up ahead there. So now he's going to have, I think that might be Nathan Tregago. Oh, sorry, we're a little bit further down. I think that might be Tom O'Connor there.
Yep.
So these three having their own little battle pack. You can just see a little bit further up the road. I think it's it's around about a second or so. So almost falling off that draft there of that leading pack.
Yeah, Gilbert around about 7/10. And then behind him, Daniel Stevens maybe just out of the draft. 1 second. See if that gap does close up on this little run down the back straight here at Watkins Glen International. Former home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix. Back a long time ago now. But, it once was the home of the F1 GP.
Such a cool shot there. As you see Daniel Stevens shot left and right. And yeah, just catching up there, I think Michael Ward right up on the inside there of Jaden Mollenhauer, but not getting that move done there. He's just hanging up a little bit further back there. But this little battle between these two here is going to allow Tom O'Connor there onto the back of these two. Oh,
That was a big slide.
maybe a little bit hard on the brakes there for Jaden Mollenhauer. So, and a little bit of a run wide there for Michael Ward. So you can see these guys are really starting to push the limits of adhesion with the brakes and the steering.
Yep, definitely. And this is one of the closest battles at the moment. Of course, just ahead, that battle between Garthan and Cox is still ongoing, as is the battle between Mazzomo and Coleman. But this one here feels like something is about to happen with these three cars, doesn't it? It feels like there's a little bit of intensity starting to creep into this battle.
Yeah, and you can
Oh,
see.
free wide.
Oh. Oh. There we go. Tom O'Connor there, pretty hard on the brakes there. And, he's actually made a bit of a mistake there coming out of the corner. So that's going to put him, I think, looks to be about a second and a half there off these two. So it's fair to me a little bit. Might have got a little bit too excited there. Battles between themselves. And just looking a little bit further there, it looks like David Common and Nick Mitchell there are just pulled in on Simon Mazzomo, who's been a bit hung out to dry, really. The gap ahead's about 3 seconds or so, so he's got no assistance with the draft at all, so he's going to be all about that defence.
Yep, and that's actually Mark Dial just in behind. Of course, it's come back after 2 laps of damage repair. Absolute damage limitation when you're talking about it like that. So he's back out there. This battle between Cox and Tregarthen still ongoing. Maintaining that 3/10 of a second margin are these two at the moment. This is a very, very good fight. Look at that slide, though, from Tregarthen. That was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it might not be the fastest way, but certainly maybe one of the most spectacular way. They're almost doing really high speed. Would be well over, I reckon, around 250, maybe even a little bit higher speed there. And have to, it's a bit of a sharp stab on the brakes there as they go through that little chicane section there and to try and wipe that speed off. But such a fast it's the only really technical corner of the whole lot, really. Trying to line it up there and trying to spin out, as we almost saw Tom O'Connor there. So they're going to come back around again. A little bit of a brake lock up there.
And the field stays as it was. I think these guys are almost just waiting and trying to hope that someone makes a mistake, because it is a very, very committed circuit. You do have to push hard, and any minor mistake is amplified with such a small field.
There you go, a little bit cleaner that time there from Tom O'Connor there.
That's Tregarthen, that one.
Oh, Tregarthen, sorry.
Yep. Oh, while he was okay before, it wasn't too good through the exit of the carousel. We said before that very, very easy to run wide, make an error. Oh, there, we just saw it.
Yeah, there's no real AstroTurf on the edge of that corner there. It goes from asphalt, then straight on the grass, so can be a little bit unforgiving there. Send them pick over another lap.
Speaking of Tom O'Connor, there he is, and he is closing that gap down to Michael Ward. What that's done, you can see the gap between Ward and Mollenhauer now has stretched out. It's now meant that Tom O'Connor really is starting to put the pressure on and trying to get that done and not let Mollenhauer break away too much.
You can see these speeds here around 270 kilometers an hour there, but he's had to abort that one.
Yep. And he'll tuck back in behind. He'll have a little slowdown penalty he'll have to clear, or he can get back on the throttle. Go again. We've got 15 laps to go in this first race of the night. You are new to us here on a Friday night here at SimSpeed. This is the V8SCOPS support series presented by racingsims.co.nz. We race each and every weekend of V8SCOPS, which is this weekend, of course, the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS. 250 Ks of racing on Sunday. And of course, this is the support series. Means that break out some different categories at the same track. And watch some drivers that don't necessarily get as much TV time have a chance to shine on the big stage.
Yeah, that's exactly right there. How many laps would be 250 kilometers?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I can't count that high.
It would be, actually, we'd be able to work it out. So 4 kilometers, we'll say it's so around between 50 and 65.
Yeah, something like that. I should know. I mean, I've done graphics and stuff for it already, but I don't remember. I've done so much work for stuff this weekend. I don't remember.
You could do a big intro video and then have the amount of laps there pan over the screen. Just having a look there. The two Jinx cars there, or the Henry King Racing cars there. Potentially a bit of lap traffic there. That looks to be, I think that might be either Anthony Green or, yeah.
That's Green, who's been caught to be lapped. Of course, he has damage on his car from early on in the race. So they're going to pull over. Henry King's going to try and get a little bit of draft, but won't be able to get too much from that. All of our battles have sort of split up for the moment, but they will close back up once again over the next little while. And I've just gone and checked, and it will be a 64 lap race tonight on Sunday night. So there you go.
Really liking that Racing Depot livery paint. Almost reminds me of the Snickers bar, but I think with the amount of chocolate I eat, everything looks a bit like a chocolate bar.
It's got a bit of old school Pertec about it, doesn't it?
Actually, you're right. Actually, yeah. Bit of tip of the hat to Marcus Ambrose. There we go. We've come full circle. We mentioned Marcus Ambrose before, I think.
Friend of the channel, Marcus Ambrose. Has raced quite a lot on iRacing. He's been working on his own motion rigs.
As well as, I think he's partnered back with
Gary Rogers.
Gary Rogers Motorsports. A bit of news there, I think, came out either today or yesterday.
We hit the halfway point of this race. 13 laps to go, 12 and a half laps to go. Drop-off of tyres is not as severe as I was originally thinking it would be. It's around about 0.6 of a second. That's not too bad, but give it another few laps. That's a big mistake there for Michael Ward. He's going to have to defend really hard, really aggressively. But he's not going to be able to. Tom O'Connor is finally going to get the spot, or is he? Ward's going to hold it around the outside. And I'll tell you what, that is some great defense. He had no way of holding that spot, but somehow has pulled out and is going to hold on to 6th. On to 7th. That was a huge mistake. He should not be still holding onto that spot.
Yeah, that was great work there by Michael Ward. Around that sweeping left-hander there, chose to dive and go pretty late there around the outside. It's not normally a move that is seen all that often there, but that not all is lost there. I think with Tom O'Connor there, you could just see the feedback through the car as it goes through the S's there. Really high-speed chicane there. You can see the car a little bit unloaded on that suspension, but he's still going to be within the draft there of Michael Ward, so he'll get plenty of opportunity there to have another crack at it as they come around the loop just around the back of the circuit there, sitting at around that 170, 200 k's an hour there as they come out of that loop section. So such a fast corner there, and you can see Tom O'Connor there closing that gap just a little bit further as they come through again.
He made a little bit of a mistake through the S's and lost him a little bit of ground, so he had to work hard in the second half of the lap to close that back down, and has done so. Interesting too, the lead battle is starting to close up. Henry King was out to around about a 1.3, 1.4 second advantage. That has dropped down to now 7/10 of a second. Aaron Gilbert is coming on strong in this latter stage, or this mid-phase of the race. These last 10 laps will get rather heated between those two.
Yeah, they'll be wanting to give each other plenty of racing room. You definitely don't want to be taking your teammate out. So we'll just see a bit of a visual representation there at the moment. So Aaron Gilbert definitely within that draft zone now on this fast-flowing track. Definitely not within striking distance there at the moment. He'll have to sit in for a little bit further. Ryan clawed back just a little bit more time as we're going to see him come across the line there around this right-hander there, running it super wide, just maintaining around that 7/10 mark there at the moment.
Last lap time, 9.9 for Aaron Gilbert and a 10.1 for Henry King. So there's definitely a little bit of time advantage in the favour of Aaron Gilbert at the moment. Jump back on board with Simon Mazzomo. He thought he was starting to break away a little bit from David Coleman, but Coleman's starting to come back. And Mazzomo isn't having this as easy as he would have liked. Of course, he's up 2 spots from where he started, but had company right on his tail, almost pushing him along for the entirety of this race.
Yeah, that's right there. As you can just taking a bit of a breather there on that straight section. You can see the concentration there on his face. Oh, a little bit of feedback there from the car there. I think that might have been a slight mistake there from David Coleman, and we can see that lap car there of Anthony Green as they come through. So something you've got to worry about these sprint races of these lengths, that you can get that just that little bit of lap traffic there.
Up at the front now, down to under half a second. Aaron Gilbert is flying at this present stage. He is closing that gap down and applying pressure to his team boss. Henry King won't want to give this up early. Of course, Aaron Gilbert doing very nicely in the championship at the moment, and Henry King hasn't done too many races. So will we see, well, actually has done all of the races, but hasn't performed as well as Aaron Gilbert. Will he give up the spot, or will he try and hold on and get some championship points back? I think that they'll fight very hard. As long as they don't make contact, they're going to keep fighting.
Yeah, just seeing a bit of that feedback from the cars as they're going through some of those corners there, just trying to see if he'll get him just that little bit of understeer, because I know talking to a few of the drivers a bit earlier, it was around that 11 lap mark there that the tyres were going to start to go off there. So maybe is that something that Aaron Gilbert's just managed to conserve just a little bit better there as they come across the line. It's pretty much in it there. So yeah, about 0.4 of a second now. So he's going to be almost within striking distance. They keep that almost that same line there through that first corner there. Not running it out too wide there and pushing the car into understeer and holding it flat there through the S's.
Yep, gap now under 0.4 of a second, and don't need a timer on screen to tell how much the gap is. You can visually see that it's closed up a lot over the last little while. And Gilbert just said as well, obviously doing a much better job in tyre conservation, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to hold on as well as he has at the moment, because those tyres will be crying and screaming because they will not be happy with being absolutely destroyed at this phase of the race. Speaking of destroyed, the rears of Michael Ward are a little destroyed. I'm pretty sure he's just put it in the wall.
Sam's still got away potentially without any damage there. We'll cut to a VRS replay and see what he's done there.
Wondering if he was hit from behind or whether he's just tried to hold the position around the outside with Tom O'Connor up the inside. A huge lock-up onto the grass. O'Connor around the outside. A little bit of door-to-door contact, but I don't think O'Connor did anything wrong there. Michael Ward was just trying to hold onto that position that he probably should have just given up because he was never going to hold on.
Yeah, he didn't seem to call out or anything on the race radio or anything like that, so he seems to think it's also pretty well fair play. That, talking about fair play, casting our eyes back to the start of to the front of the race here. So Gilbert around that 3/10 mark there at the moment. He's definitely he's probably thinking to himself now, just sitting in there, don't have to make a move early there at the moment. He knows that he's got the pace between these two. He can kind of just use Henry as his braking markers there. A little bit sideways there through that right-hander, so maybe he's pushing a little bit harder there than maybe what I thought.
Well, Mazzomo's run wide, but the advantage he's got is he's got the inside 4 turn 6 and will likely be able to hold on to this spot, but that's a little bit of a moment there for Mazzomo. Will he now be able to hold on to this spot? Only 6 laps to go now that they've crossed the line. And not much racing left in race 1. It's been a very, very entertaining fight. We haven't seen huge battles, but it's been a really big game of motorsport chess, hasn't it?
That's right there. You saw Mazzomo covering off his line there as they came through on that start-finish straight there. Just seeing Nathan Tregargan and Jaden Mollenhauer there, so they've bunched up together as well, so you can just kind of see these little battle packs emerging there. Mollenhauer very early on the brakes there. I think he just wanted to make sure he gave Nathan Tregargan just that little bit of extra breathing room there.
He just wanted to make sure that he didn't lock it up and cause an incident with the both of them, or miss the braking marker himself. It's very, very easy to do when you're following too close to the car ahead. You can outbrake yourself. Gap at the front, at the line, 0.4 of a second still. And Gilbert still punching in laps that are almost the fastest laps of the race. That pace that Aaron Gilbert has got at the moment is incredibly good. Track conditions have changed slightly. The track temperature's dropped about 2.5 degrees. But even still, the pace that he's showing is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and we're just... sorry, I'm just actually catching off screen there. Mazzomo right on the back there of Michael Ward, so not too sure whether or not if Michael Ward took on a little bit of damage there that the cameras just aren't picking up there.
I would say that will be his tyres are hyperheated, so he's struggling a little bit for grip. He'll have to bring it back down as Mollenhauer does get through on Nathan Tregarthen at the bus stop. But you're right, Ward has definitely dropped a lot of pace. He was around about half of that gap down. Tregarthen, Mollenhauer still going at it. Tregarthen trying to go around the outside at the carousel, decides that he can't do it, tucks in behind. But he's got momentum down the straight here. Mollenhauer defending this position.
Yeah, great defensive line there. I think by Mollenhauer, running it right on the centre there. Not allowing Tregargan any way around there at the moment, so it's going to give Mollenhauer the advantage as they come around for this lap.
What Tregarthen was going to have a little late lunge there. Speaking of late lunges, here we go. We might see one right in for the lead. Aaron Gilbert not quite close enough, but that will be a little bit of stress there added to Henry King's race, because he now knows that Aaron Gilbert has the pace and the momentum through the S's to potentially make a move on that last lap.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot to pass there, trying to get through on that chicane. If you had a choice there, it'd be definitely trying to just draft someone down the straight there. As you can see, Mizomo right on the back there of Michael Ward. Can't also discount David Coleman as well. So David Coleman just on the back there as well. So only about half a second or so separating these three. As we just cut back to Mollenhauer and Tregargan. They're very, very close there on the back. So it's heating up quite a lot between these two.
Been an intense little fight, hasn't it, between all of these guys? And just as we were before talking about Nick Mitchell, he's in the pits. He's done, unfortunately. So he's got damage. Ended up with the field spreading out. So now ending up with 3 intense battles, all with 3 laps to go. Is up the inside looks David Coleman. Mizomo holds the line on the outside and uses that run off to his advantage. But what that will do means that David Coleman will have a little bit of a run, a little bit more overspeed up through the S's. And they're actually having to start to lift a little bit too coming up through the S's. So that is changed from earlier on in the race, and also change of position for 5th. Has Tregarthen gone straight ahead at the bus stop chicane? I think he has.
Yeah, it looks like he's sitting out a little bit wide there. Is he going to take down a slowdown?
No, he's actually got the move done.
Yeah, so great work there by Nathan Tregargan. Making a move when it counts there is just catching off screen there again. Mizomo under a lot of pressure there, but also under a lot of pressure, Henry King, and under pressure from his teammate Aaron Gilbert there. So Mizomo putting Coleman there back behind him. So Mizomo's having a fight for it there, trying to keep that 9th position at the moment there. Coleman just showing a nose again there. But we know here at Watkins, Glen, that first turn you can run it ultra wide there. So even if you have the inside, can't always make it work to your advantage there.
Also wasn't sure if Michael Ward had hit the wall, but we go back to the front because they will get the white flag. Last lap when they cross the line. Look at the gap to Daniel Stevens behind. Just a little speck in the distance. The full length of that straight is the gap between 2nd and 3rd. These two Jinx Shifters cars have absolutely blitzed the field. One more revolution of Watkins Glen to go. Will Henry King be able to hold on? Aaron Gilbert is putting up a great fight to try and take the position. That's a big mistake from Henry King. Just at the moment has got enough to hold on to the spot.
Yeah, it's almost lucky that it was his teammate behind him there. It looked like Aaron Gilbert might have just hit the brakes to try and get out of it a little bit. Not to get too close there to his teammate, who made a fair old mistake.
Oh, big late lunge from Aaron Gilbert, and he gets the job done. What a move!
That's an absolute killer move there by Aaron Gilbert there. Such a demon under brakes and took it right to the edge of that curb there. Thankfully, his curbs are pretty flat, so it wasn't too much to unsettle the car there. Can we see Henry King respond?
2 corners to go. Just saw Nathan Tregarthen holding onto that position from Jaden Mullenhauer. And Mizomo has lost the spot and a little bit of ground to David Coleman. So we'll get a replay of that post-race. But Aaron Gilbert surprises the field. Steals victory from Henry King after King leads for 25.5 laps. Aaron Gilbert wins it with half a lap to go. What a drive from Aaron Gilbert to come back and steal that one away. Daniel Stevens will get 3rd behind Henry King. Gavin Cox in 4th. And the battle for 5th and 6th is still ongoing, but Nathan Tregarthen will take that from Jaden Mullenhauer. Tom O'Connor wasn't able to come back. Michael Ward is now holding onto this position from David Coleman. I'm wondering how much tyre he's got left in that car. I don't think it's too much. He's struggling. Just holds onto the spot by 2/10.
There we are, and we just saw Mizomo there off the background, but absolute stellar effort there by Henry James Racing there, as well as Middle Finger Racing there. You can just see in the background both Daniel Stevens and Gavin Cox there having a really quiet run. Not too much airtime for those two, but I guess no news is good news for those two.
Exactly right. Sometimes a quiet, boring race where you got no TV time isn't necessarily a bad thing. This is the replay of what happened to Mazomo. And just looks like just caught the grass on the left-hand side under brakes right there. Sent the car a little bit straight. And so no contact between drivers. He was able to continue on, but did lose that spot right at the end. And it would have been interesting to see what might have been had he not lost that ground and lost that spot. But not losing spots. The car of Aaron Gilbert, Henry King, Daniel Stevens, our top three in race number 1. Results coming up on screen in just a moment's time. And of course, after this, we head into the Trucking Legend Series. Aaron Gilbert wins it by 0.2 of a second over Henry King. Dan Stevens, 7 seconds back in the end, but does consolidate a 3rd position. Gavin Cox in 4th, Nathan Tregarthen in 5th. A great battle between Tregarthen and Mollenhauer, changing positions several times throughout that race. Tom O'Connor was in that battle, but couldn't quite hold on in the end. Dropped back to 7th position. Michael Ward in 8th. David Coleman in 9th, and then Mazomo in 10th position. Couldn't quite stick with that battle in the end, unfortunately for him. Anthony Green, Mark Dial, and Nick Mitchell rounding out the field. Brett Loxton and Ben Christensen weren't needed in race control, thankfully. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Legends cars will be heading to the circuit. Nick will be jumping out of the booth and jumping in the car, and we'll be joined by Cam Dance alongside me for comms in that one. Stick with us here on SimSpeed TV. This is V8SCOPS Support Series presented by RacingSims.co.nz.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker. Especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs. Any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. Feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
Welcome back to SimSpeed TV, and this is the RacingSims.co.nz V8SCOPS Support Series, event number 7 and round 7 of the Trucking Legends series, of course, alternating between Pro 2 trucks and the Legend cars. And tonight the Legends are out on the circuit, getting ready to race. Qualifying is just underway out on track. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me for this one is Cameron Dance. Nick Graves jumped out and jumped into the car. Cam, this is going to be a fun little race. We haven't got a huge field, but what it means it's going to be is a very, very entertaining race.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we see these things out on track, it seems to produce some really, really cool racing and some really fun racing as well, both from a commentator's perspective and also from a driver's perspective. So looking forward to seeing who's going to be coming out on top on this one.
As we said, qualifying has just got underway. They've got a 10-minute qualifying session, which will be followed by a 10-minute race. A couple of drivers doing double duty from race, the V8 race before, Daniel Stevens, Anthony Green and Simon Mazzomo, but joined by regulars as well. Reese Gardner, Nick Skraev, Anthony Green also doing double duty. Henry King back out there, and Justin Howe also having a go in this as well tonight. I also see Gavin Cox jumping in as well. So drivers that have driven the V8, we don't normally see a lot of them jump out of the V8 and jump into this because of the difference in the cars. But Watkins Glen is the sort of track where you really can jump in and find pace just by doing laps in a car. It's such an interesting circuit in that aspect.
It's a very, very simple circuit, and as a result, it's very, very easy to do that. So you typically find that a lot of drivers will just jump in, even if they haven't really done laps in the car, they'll just jump in because they know the track so well, they know how to drive the track. So it's the translation from car to car isn't exactly a big jump like you usually find in some cases with other tracks. So it's a very, very easy transition, and it really does mean that guys can just jump in and have a look.
Yep, and these cars are reasonably easy to drive as well in comparison to the V8. So jumping in and driving one of these is a lot easier on the spectrum than jumping in a V8 and driving them around this circuit. So the sort of track and car combo that you do see a lot of drivers jump in and do. Reese Gardner, the early pace setter in this one. Ben Christensen in second. He just messaged me before. He's got us on in the background. So he's listening out for us to give him the commentator's curse. I will do my best, Ben. I will do my best.
I think it's not even hard to do that with you in the comms box, but nevertheless, we'll have to see what's going to happen, and Ben will certainly be one that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Obviously, he does reasonably well in both the race control booth and also behind the wheel of it, regardless whatever he drives. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. But Reese certainly doing a reasonably good job at the moment. They're sitting P1, and that's actually a non-draft lap as well. One of these. This is one of the tracks where you probably actually want to be having a draft because of the fact that it's such a long lap, and because of the slow speeds, it really does put an emphasis on getting that extra little bit of lap time out of it. So quite fascinating to see that there's not too many guys using a drafting partner or trying to get a little bit of a draft, but nevertheless we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Yeah, it's one of those cars that seems to have a really, really big impact in terms of fuel usage. So the less amount of fuel you have in the car, the quicker you're going to end up going. So it pays to just go out there and just keep on doing laps. And because it's on a radial tire, it's not going to wear as quick as a slick tire like you might find on the supercar. So it's certainly going to be paying off to staying out there and just continuing to do laps to burn the fuel out of the car before you go for one last lap dash right at the end.
See what Race Gardner can do. And my apologies for not hearing me when we were on that side-by-side before. I clicked the wrong button and didn't have my microphone open. So my apologies for that. Gardner doesn't improve on his personal best. Improves on the previous run that he did. Brett Loxton out there on track at the moment, just starting his first flying lap. We'll see what he can do. He didn't have much luck last time out. We saw him in the Trucking Legends. I believe it was at Oran Park. He had a horrible run in the Pro Truck there.
Yeah, didn't have a particularly good run last time out, and he'll be hoping to try and have a bit better of a run this time. Hopefully, you're going to be no major incidents in this race for anyone really, but we'll have to see what's going to happen with the fact it's going to be very, very close and very, very compacted with a big draft train. But nevertheless, we'll have to see how this lap is going to go for Brett coming through and out of the carousel. Looks like he might just get a little bit of a whisper of a draft off the car ahead in the form of Anthony Green, who's not too far ahead. So this might be a reasonable lap time if he's got the rest of the lap correct, coming through the second to last corner now. And with the fact that these cars are so slow and the fact that they've not got a whole lot of power, there's actually a very, very minimal amounts of input and also gear changing going on. So continuing to just hold the gear that he's had and continue to get that draft off Anthony Green as well is going to come across the line, and it's going to be a 1 minute 28.8, so puts himself in P3 by the slimmest of margins behind Ben Christensen.
Speaking of, he's trying to push this car along. He's actually trying to push it down the straight, but isn't able to get any extra speed out of it. I had to put that shot up when I saw him doing that and off the side of my view there. Justin Howard just escaped back to the pit, so I'm sure Race Control will see that. Brett Loxton in third position. Reece Gardner still holding the lead in this grouping at the moment. He's just set a reasonable first sector. But Brett Loxton on his run did just get a little bit of draft there from Anthony Green, and that first sector absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah, well, I got a nice tow up the way through the S's and all the way down towards the bus stop. So we have a lot of head of steam coming into the end of this lap, and so long as he hits his marks in the final two corners, it should be an improvement on his fastest time so far, and could very well possibly be a top of the timesheets time as well. So we'll see what's going to happen coming through the final two corners once again, right out over the Ripple Strip, and all the possible racetrack that he can, and coming through the final corner to end the lap. The lap's looking like it's going to be there, and it's looking like it's going to be very, very positive, and that it's going to go up the timesheets, and it's 1 minute 28.261, and puts himself straight in a P1.
Does, and Ben Christensen also did a reasonable lap as well, but he wasn't quite able to get enough. Reece Gardner on his lap almost improved, but not quite able to get there. Lost a little bit of ground in the first sector, did Reece Gardner. The rest of the sectors were almost identical between he and Brett Loxton. So Reece Gardner, who has just looped it out of turn one, he's done. He won't go any faster in this session. There is not enough time left.
Yeah, certainly not going to be able to get around it again in 30 seconds time. Not really going to be too many guys. We're going to get another lap to finish the session off here. Daniel Stevens coming through the final corner to finish what will possibly be his second to last lap. That might be his last lap. We'll have to see what he's going to do after turn one. Comes across the line in 1 minute 28.891. So that is an improvement in his personal best so far to put himself in P4.
Love this shot that he's given us too with his webcam over his shoulder. You can see his I flag there, just waving next to his gear shift number. It's a pretty cool little gadget, the I flag. See if he can improve its run up the hill. Justin Howe going back out on circuit. I'm not sure if Race Control realised that he did escape from his run before, so I'm sure they'll be having a little look into that. Daniel Stevens' first sector time pretty decent here on this next run. Ben Christensen just behind him too, also looking pretty decent on this run. So two drivers out there on track still may improve on this last lap.
Yeah, there's every chance that there may be improvements coming in the next little bit of time as the Checker Flaggers following the fact they've got across the line just in time. We'll have to see what's going to happen. Christensen probably not going to have any draft coming off of Daniel Stevens, but Stevens did his quickest lap on a lap with no draft, so we'll have to see if there's going to be an improvement this time by on his very, very final flying laps coming out of the final corner, and looking like it might just be an improvement, might not. We'll have to see. Comes across the line and just shy of improving by just over a tenth.
Ben Christensen crosses the line and he does improve but doesn't gain any position. So that is qualifying done for the Trucking Legends. And we will go through our starting grid for this race. Brett Loxton will start from pole. Reese Gardner alongside on the front row. Justin Howe, you get a lap in, so race control will have to have a look at that because he definitely did escape at the exit of the bus stop about halfway through the session. Ben Christensen in P number 4. Dan Stevens and Simon Mazzomo on the third row of the grid. Nick Scrayev, Anthony Green, the last of our drivers, an 8-car field. I think is a very, very decent size considering how important the pack racing is going to be. I don't think you'd want too many cars with how intense the pack racing is going to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's with the fact that these things work so much around draft, especially around here on the road courses, it's anybody's guess as to who's going to be leading on the way into the bus stop because of the fact that there's going to just be a massive draft train the whole way from the exit of turn 1 the whole way up to the bus stop. So if you're in that 5th or 6th position, you could very well possibly be leading into the bus stop if you get the run right.
So we're about 90 seconds away from getting the green flag in this race. And Loxton, from memory, this is his first pole this season in Trucking Legends.
Yeah, so we're wanting to try and capitalize off that nice starting position that is pole position, and he'll be wanting to try and obviously win the race from there. It's going to be a lot of hard work with the fact that there's going to be a big draft train trying to chase down that race win as well, but he'll surely give it a red hot go and try to steal one from everybody else.
And Reese Gardner is also looking to capitalise, of course. It's currently 3rd in the championship. Nick Scrayev a little bit further back than he would like. He's 2nd in the championship at the moment. So lots of guys that are looking for a bit of a gain in the championship points situation in this Trucking Legends series. And Daniel Stevens, of course, leading the championship, starting back in 5th. So all of our championship contenders are right there. Actually, Loxton as well, just going back and looking. He has won one of the races in this series so far this season. So hasn't had a completely horrible run. Of course, won round 1 at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But as I said before, last round at Donington didn't do too good and didn't do too well at Oran Park either. As we get down to 0 on the clock. Rev starting to rise and green flag flies. Away we go. And a great launch from the front of the field from both of the drivers at the front. And looking like we're going to be rather clean into turn 1 with this smaller field. Everyone is getting through it okay. Great to see. The sun starts to set here in New York State. Loxton leads from Gardner, Howe and Christensen, top 4.
Yeah, everybody's single file so far, but starting to close in, and this is where the draft is really going to start to pay its visit to all these drivers, and Reese Gardner is going to look to the inside of Brett Loxton on the way down towards the bus stop, and it's going to send that one up the inside very, very easily and take that position off Loxton. And bearing in mind, this is going to be one of those races where leading on the last lap's probably not going to be the optimum strategy, so it'll be interesting to see what we're possibly going to see, what sort of mind games we're going to see from a lot of these guys is in the background as well. Christensen trying to put a move on Justin Howe, but not quite able to get the run out of the carousel.
And Howe doing a great job of defending this position at the moment, but Ben Christensen, oh, I thought he was going to try and lob it up the inside. Dan Stevens and Simon Mazzomo side by side through turn 6. And they will stay side by side. Mazzomo will get that spot in the last corner, but Stevens trying just to hold on that spot. We make it through the first lap cleanly. Gardner, Loxton, Howe, Stevens, top 4, and Brett Loxton looking to come straight back, as your 6 said before. Leading on the last lap may not be the preferred position, and Reece Gardner, I don't think, will be too upset if he loses this spot.
Yeah, certainly will won't, and he's going to lose two, actually, another one to Justin Now, and he might actually lose a third one to Ben Christensen as well, who's going to look to try and go around the outside of the S's and have the inside for the top of it. He's certainly not going to give in very easily here, but does decide to just lift ever so slightly and behind as they're all defending hard on the way down towards the bus stop. Howe looks to the outside of Loxton, but isn't quite going to be able to get enough overlap to get the move done in the end.
Have a look at Christensen there. He just absolutely threw it into the chicane. He was lucky to pull that up there for the bus stop chicane without making contact. So the front 4 have broken away into their own little gap, in their own little pack, I should say. And the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th is Stevens, Mazzomo, Skrayev, and Green. Those guys are all together as well. But Justin Howe, Brett Loxton, Ben Christensen, Reece Gardner, this battle at the front looking very, very spicy. And they're not fighting too hard. They're fighting, but they're happy to sacrifice a position now because they know that if they work together in some aspects, it will give them a big gain later on.
Yeah, it's that whole argument of, do you fight now and lose time, or do you work together and fight in such a way that you're not going to lose time and instead will work together in some way? So it's certainly a little bit of being smart here, and with the fact that it's a 10-minute race, it's all about just being patient, especially if you're in that top 4 where you know you're not really going to lose the draft unless you make a big mistake. So it's really just about patience here for all these top 4. But Howe's closing on Loxton, still not quite going to make a move. Looks to the outside, but again, not going to be able to make a move this time around as Christensen hard over the cubes once again and closing that gap as Loxton's made a mistake and off the road and nearly into the wall.
There goes Loxton from our lead battle. He's going to lose a spot to Daniel Stevens. So that lead now, Justin Howe takes the lead away. Ben Christensen in second, Reece Gardner. And Race Control still will be looking at what is going to happen with Justin Howe. He's going to have a potential race control penalty hanging over his head still as well. So Christensen, Gardner fighting for what may be the lead 2 cars, because we don't know what's going to happen with Howe. They're 3 wide down the front straight. Ben Christensen left Reece Gardner about a car and a tiny little smidgen width.
Yeah, there wasn't much room there for Reece, but he's going to slot it up the inside, take the lead of this race briefly as Christensen is going to come back at him with the cutover on the way out of turn 1 and take the lead straight back off Gardner. And Howe is probably going to be looking to try and make it on what is way on by Reece once they get to the bus stop, but Reece is going to try and come back at Ben Christensen here at the top of the S's and on the way down the back straight towards the bus stop. He's going to be on the outside, so he's not going to be ideal on the way in, but he's going to have the inside for the next 2 corners after that. We'll see how brave he's going to be on the brakes. Decides to just let Christensen go. That's checked up Howe a little bit. Now this has brought Stevens and Loxton back into this little battle pack again.
Yep, so a 5-car fight now for the lead of the race, and Skrayev in 6 isn't too far back as well. So the battle all the way down the field is well and truly on.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And this is the sort of thing that we were talking about. If you're going to fight, you're going to end up causing yourself a little bit of a headache in the fact that you're going to end up holding each other up and just causing the guys behind to end up catching you if they're working together. So they've managed to find themselves in a situation now where the top 5 are all locked together, and it's anybody's guess as to who's going to end up coming out on top in this race, as there's not too much longer left in this race as well, with just under 4 minutes left as Loxton looks up the inside of Stevens on the way into turn one. Stevens is going to sweep around the outside with momentum on his side, and he's going to hold on to that position.
Yep, there'll be 3 laps to go for this race. So Christensen, Gardner, Howe, Stevens, Loxton, the top 5. And I tell you what, Nick Skraev is only one little battle from being in this draft. So these guys are going to be careful to make sure that they don't bring Skraev up into the fight as well as an extra car. The 6-car fight for the lead will be hectic going into the last lap. But I tell you now, Reece Gardner doesn't care. He wants to take that spot away at the front. Doesn't quite get it done. Ben Christensen holds onto the lead.
Yeah, and Howie's looking very, very racy as well, just in behind Reece Gardner as well. So certainly going to be one to watch in these last few laps to possibly steal the race win here from Christensen and possibly Gardner as well. Although we'll have to see what's going to happen with Stevens and Loxton as they're continuing to close that gap down to the top 3 and possibly get involved in this little fight for the race win with only a handful of laps to go.
Yep, 2 laps to go when they cross the line here in the 7th round of the V8SCOPS Support Series presented by RacingSims.co.nz. Justin Howe pulls out a little bit. Give himself a little bit of space to make sure he doesn't run into the rear of Reece Gardner. But Ben Christensen led the full lap there. But the first time we've seen someone lead an entire lap in this race, saying that Reece Gardner does get his nose ahead at the apex of turn 1. It's already lost the lead back, and what that's done, it's opened the door a tiny little bit for Justin Howe to pull alongside. And Howe also able to use the draft contact between the two. And Howe flipping over. Daniel Stevens somehow made it through. But Justin Howe ended up in the fence.
Yeah, it's just minor wheel-to-wheel contact as well between those two, and unfortunately Al has come off second at best. Loxton's made his way on by Reece Gardner, although Reece nearly had a secondary look at possibly just trying to outbrake Loxton, but he's going to drop alongside on the exit of the bus stop, and now Loxton's going to have to try and hang it around the outside. Stevens is looking in there as well from just slightly further back, and this is allowing Christensen to get away from these guys as well. So Stevens will be looking on very, very cautiously to see what's going to happen between the two in front. Loxton looks to the inside of Gardner on the way into the second to last corner, but no move going to be made as Reece continues to hold it around the outside, and he's lost the rear end. Around goes Loxton, and Stevens has just gone straight through.
And he thinks that was brilliant. He actually is laughing because he can't believe that he made it through. That is almost like a miracle. The seas parted for him, and he made his way through there somehow without damage, without incident. The 2 cars went either side of him, and he just drove straight through the middle. Luckily for him, final lap of the race. You see Barney waving in the background. And Brett Loxton now has a little bit of company. That being Anthony Green. Nick Skraev has made his way up into 3rd now. And Simon Mazzomo, who was well off the back with an issue earlier, has caught up and is now in with a fight of getting a top 5.
Yeah, Loxton's carrying a little bit of body damage on that right-hand side as well, so he's going to have a little bit of a straight line deficit on the way down towards the bus stop and over the rest of the lap as well. So Green and Mazzomo might be in a really, really good position here for the final few corners of the race. Green looks to the outside of Loxton on the way into the bus stop. He's going to be brave and try and get the inside for the following corner. Loxton holds it tough around the outside, 2 wheels in the dirt, and just manages to hold on to the position, but Green's not going to back out of it with contact between himself and Loxton, and that's going to result in Green with a heavy hit with the barrier and having to recover from there. But at the front of the field, this man has done pretty much everything he's needed to. He's led in the fight, fought his way to the front, and when it all turned to custard for the race, he pretty much took it away and is going to come away with a race victory in the Legends at Watkins Glen. And Daniel Stevens is going to end up following him on behind in second, and Skraev is going to get a podium here as well.
What an absolutely bizarre but fantastic race that was. The battle for the minor position still ongoing as Mazzomo pushes Loxton across the line almost. Reece Gardner finishes in 6th. We need to have another look at that incident though near the end of the race, because that was game-changing for this race and this championship. He said that 3 of the top 4 in the championship were involved in this. But Gardner just gets in the grass, only just, up onto the wheel of... Oh, and that second hit from Scrave is what really damaged Reece Gardner's car. May have got away with that. Not quite as bad if there wasn't that secondary contact. But this is the shot that we need to watch. Watch this here.
Yes, certainly. From Daniel Stevens on board, he would have seen Reece go and then suddenly hit blocks and he wouldn't have known where to go, but just decided there was a gap and pretty much drove straight on through it. So very, very lucky there and got away with that one scot-free somehow for the C's to part ways and end up taking a podium position. But what a finish and what a race that was.
Absolutely brilliant race. Christensen takes the win from Stevens, Scrave, Loxton, Mizomo, the top five. Reece Gardner, unfortunately, finishes in 6th. Anthony Green in 7th. Justin Howe in 8th. And Henry King was sitting in the race control booth. Speaking of Henry King, he'll be starting from 2nd to last for the next race coming up here on SimSpeed TV. Reverse grid coming up for the V8s in the racingsims.co.nz support series. Stick with us here on SimSpeed TV. We'll be back very, very soon.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
6 very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome back to SimSpeed TV. This is the racingsims.co.nz V8SCOPS support series, and we are in for an absolutely hectic, epic final race of the night. Driving into the sunset here at Watkins Glen. Reverse grid racing. This is going to be an absolute blast here on SimSpeed TV. My name is Jay Kennedy. Back in the booth after jumping in the legends for that last race is Nick Scraven. Also joining us as well, Here's Scott Fountain, Fonty here with us as well. But Nick, firstly, congratulations on a podium in that last race. Finally good to get the monkey off the back, mate.
Well, that's definitely the highest position I think I've ever had on a broadcasted race, and also the highest, first podium on a broadcasted race as well. So that's kind of cool to get that bit of bucket list item, I think, after about doing this for almost a couple of years now, yeah.
It's been a long time, and Fonty, great to have you in the booth as well. Back after a few weeks absent from being in the booth. It's great to have you along.
Yep. No, it's great to be. It's been a while since I've commentated on something to do with V8SCOPS, so looking forward to getting back into it and moving back home to New Zealand in the next few weeks, which will allow me to be a bit more involved in sim racing on that side of the world again, which will be great. So this is a great series, and I can't wait to see this last race tonight, mate.
Yep, we're about 90 seconds away from getting the green flag in this V8SCOPS support race here at Watkins Glen, of course. We did announce earlier in the week that we were doing a slight schedule change for the V8SCOPS season proper. That will affect the V8 support series. The Belle Isle round will move forward 1 week. It will be brought forward 1 week, so instead of being the last weekend of July, first weekend of August, it will be moved forward 1 week. So just be aware that we have made that slight little adjustment. That means that we won't clash with some real-world motorsport events that have had to change schedule as well. It's been one of the requests from a lot of drivers in V8SCOPS, so adding that in for the V8SCOPS and V8SCOPS support here is very, very important to help make sure that people can enjoy both V8SCOPS and the real-world racing at the same time.
That's exactly right, and it's what an awesome calendar that we've had this year. Some great racing, and it's going to continue on. I certainly can't wait to see Belle Isle, such a difficult circuit, and where the drivers have to be on form and on their game. One mistake and it can be all over for them. So looking forward to that round.
Nick, what are your thoughts going into this race? Of course, as we said, reverse grid for this one. What are you thinking? How do you think that it's going to play out?
Yeah, well, it's definitely going to put the really strong teams there of Middle Finger Racing as well as Henry James Racing as well there. So they're going to be starting from the back. So whether or not they can kind of work together there, give each other plenty of room, we are going to see a few more of the independents. Daniel Stevens, he's starting from 8. Sorry, I thought that was the actual the grid. That was just a few of the practice times that people were putting in there.
This is the grid. Simon Mazzomo being the the last driver on the leading lap, will start this race from pole position. David Coleman alongside with Michael Ward in 3rd, Tom O'Connor in 4th, Jaden Mullenhauer in 5th position. Then we've got Nathan Tregarthen in position number 6, Gavin Cox in 7th, Dan Stevens in 8th. Then the winning pair from that first race, Henry King and Aaron Gilbert, they're in row 5. Then the drivers who unfortunately finished a lap down in that race, those being Anthony Green, Mark Dial. Also, we have lost one from race 1. We did have 13 runners. That was the 37 car. Mitchell is the driver that we're missing from this one. So, unfortunate that we've lost a car, but doesn't mean that the action is going to be any less exciting. It's going to be a brilliant race. We're getting ready to go. Revs are starting to rise. Another 26 laps on the board. And we get it underway, and a horrible start there from Coleman. Good jump from Mazzomo and also from Ward. But Mazzomo's going to lead them away into turn 1, nice and safe and clean.
Yeah, great start there by Michael Ward. Getting himself up from 3rd into 2nd place there, Fonty.
Yeah, you're right, mate. Yeah, jumping a bit too prematurely there, mate. Yeah, plain start for all these guys. A really good section of track, and quite often we see a few cars going into each other over that hill on lap 1 and 2. And Madison Downs' very famous wall that he often finds. So good to see these guys getting through there nice and clean.
Dan Stevens hasn't had the best start though. He's lost 2 spots already. Both of the Henry James Racing cars have got through and passed as the headlights come on to our cars. Got around about another 40 odd minute race here for race number 2 in the evening. Mazomo leading the field away. But have a look at Tom O'Connor. Of course, he had some great pace. Nathan Tregarthen, though, he has gone around at turn 6. He's been able to keep the car under control. Continues on. But Tom O'Connor, have a look at the pace that he's got. He's going to get a move done here into turn 1 over David Coleman.
There we go. Fantastic. Fantastic move and well executed. Quite a lot of passing opportunities at this track. Plenty of runoff as well. So if you go just a little bit deep under brakes, you can usually get away with it. And, yeah, such an awesome track for slipstream, and you really got to set yourself up in a good position, especially if you're in a bunch of in a race with a bunch of cars, and positioning yourself for that last lap is so key.
Henry King looking to make moves and try and get past the other middle finger driver, that being Gavin Cox, and he not quite able to do it. Cox is doing a very, very good job of holding on to this position, but might be all for nothing as they're side by side down the back straight. Will the car of Henry King, second place in race 1, really be able to get the move done? I'll tell you what, around the outside, but that's into the grass, and he just holds onto the spot and still almost was able to make the move.
Absolutely fantastic hair-raising stuff, I tell you. He probably needed another pair of underpants after that one, but did well to collect it and continue on.
Also, just a little bit up the road there, I think that might have been Mollenhauer or David Coleman. Mollenhauer there, getting the move done there on turn 1 on David Coleman. So that's the fishy racing car there, slipping there just outside of that top 3 position there. So he'll need to sit in, and not only that, he'll be looking in his rearview mirror there. You can see Gavin Cox and Henry King are gaining on him very quickly.
Awesome view there from Daniel Stevens as well. We come back to see David Coleman struggling. He's dropped 3 spots already. Just remember, he did pick up that spot from Simon Mazomo on the last lap of race 1. Speaking of Simon Mazomo, he's under a lot of pressure for the lead at the moment between both Michael Ward, who did have that very intense battle at the end of the race with in race 1, and Tom O'Connor, who had some great pace at the start and the middle phase of race 1, but really dropped off pace-wise in the last phase of race 1. So going to be interesting to see if he can hold onto the tyres, but trying to hold onto position at the moment is Simon Mazomo, not able to do it. Michael Ward goes through, but these front 3 have been able to break that important gap, and if they can maintain this gap, work together with the draft, the 3 of them, they may be able to break a big enough gap that those fast guys coming up behind, the likes of King, Gilbert, Stevens, etc., may not have enough time left to catch.
Yeah, these guys at the front, they need to certainly work together and use that draft to their advantage. This track is so hard on that left front tyre, and especially through this part of this section of the track, you're really just putting so much weight on it that it's in a race length like this, it just wears it out. So you've got to really take it easy and save it to the end.
King thought about making the move there, but actually, no, sorry, he did make the move. I got distracted there by Aaron Gilbert, so he makes the move on David Coleman. Now Gilbert will try and get the move done as Mazomo tries to come back on Michael Ward. Interesting that Tom O'Connor has done Henry King. Oh, Mazomo. A little bit of contact between he and Tom O'Connor, and Mazomo ends up hitting the wall.
Yeah, he had that car really unloaded there through that corner. It was just only ever so slight a touch there from Mazomo, who's almost a little bit sideways going into it. We'll catch this VRS replay.
Here it is. Mazomo's dropped back to 10th from this, but yeah, dove it up the inside, hits that curb and just unsettled the car a slight little bit. Got a little bit of a slide going then. A little bit of contact from O'Connor. O'Connor lost the spot back to Jaden Mollenhauer. But yeah, that was unfortunate little moment there. You can pick it up with the wheel work here from Mazomo. See, he's already got it locked up. Can't turn the car on the power too much. Out of control. Unfortunate, because he was doing a great job there. Has been struggling for pace all night long at this circuit, so he'll be disappointed with how that's gone for him, but he's dropped all the way to the back of the field. It looks like he's actually bringing it down into the lane. So it's a little bit of a disappointing way for his race to go. Battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th. Quite heated. Tom O'Connor, Gavin Cox and Henry King. They're well and truly going at it. And Tom O'Connor with a slight little bit of front splitter damage. That could really impact him with straight line speed down the straight here.
Yeah, you're certainly right, Jay. Henry King's been around the track for so long. An absolute monster in these cars. So he'll certainly be one to watch, and he'll look after those tyres well and pounce certainly at the right time.
We saw he had great pace in race 1 for 25.5 laps, didn't we, Nick? Just not quite for that final half lap.
Yeah, it's exactly right there, and you can see that that front splitter damage there of Tom O'Connor. So they do hit around that 275 kilometres an hour down the back straight, but only a few kilometres difference can make a lot of difference here. So I think Tom O'Connor is going to be in a pretty hard position now. He's going to have Gavin Cox and Henry King right on his tail there. Oh, and I think that was Gavin Cox there showing a nose pretty hard there at the moment. So that's going to bunch him up even a little bit tighter there. And they've actually bridged that gap now to this front chase group there led by Michael Ward.
Yep, they have, and it's now one big long train from 1st all the way back to 8th position. Ward, Mullenhauer, O'Connor, Cox, King, Stevens, Gilbert and Coleman. The 8 cars all in the train together. Anthony Green's not that far away. He's probably getting a little bit of draft as well as Nathan Tregarthen and Mark Dial a little bit further back. But great fight here, and Ward is going to do a great job if he can hold on. Still 19 laps to go in the race. Plenty of racing left, and I'm wondering if that's a tactical little change of position as King goes up the inside of Gavin Cox and Michael Ward drops in behind Mullenhauer.
Yeah, these guys are certainly working together, and that's the right way to do it, you know. Work together into that last lap, and then no longer friends on the track. It's each for their own, and set yourself up to hopefully get that draft in the right spot and make that move. And this is what this track is all about, and we've seen some great finishes over the years with these massive bomb straights and drama that certainly unfolds into that last corner.
Yeah, I was just going to stay there. Henry King getting that move done there on Gavin Cox. That's a really critical move now, because Gavin's not going to be able to get back around him again there, as we're just seeing. I think that, sorry, not Henry King, that's Tom O'Connor there. Got it really crossed up there going through those chicanes. So that's going to slow him up a little bit. It's going to bunch the field even a little bit tighter in behind him.
Definitely will. The front 8 now under 3 seconds. They were just over 3.5 seconds before, and now it's under 3. The field is definitely closing up, tightening and bunching up. But what a fight this is at the moment. Very, very clean. Zomo's been able to get his car repaired and he's got back out there to try and get some championship points. Of course, you have to make 50% race distance at least, or 75% race distance, I should say, to be able to get points. So have a look at Aaron Gilbert with a late lunge. Also Gavin Cox with a late lunge. Cox might nearly get it done. Gilbert may be in a little bit of trouble here from Coleman, but Stevens actually is the one that's made the error there, and he's going to lose a spot.
Yeah, there we go. So, turn 1 is very difficult if someone throws it up inside here and you are committed. He's just wearing out that front left tyre by running way off into the runoff area there. So, yeah, it's all, can't push it enough. That looking after that left front is so crucial here, and I think the likes of Henry King will do that very well.
Yeah, and Aaron Gilbert's the one to watch. He was the one that looked after the tyres well and truly the best in that first race. Had some fantastic pace right at the end, was almost doing fastest laps at the end of the race. As you see, Tom O'Connor pushing a little bit too hard through turn 6. He's going to lose a couple of spots, drops in behind Gavin Cox. Aaron Gilbert not able to get through. He's got the momentum down the front straight as we complete 9 laps, 17 to go. This race is just starting to heat up a little bit, and I think a little bit of impatience is starting to creep in from a few drivers, Nick.
Yeah, that's right there. As we just saw Aaron Gilbert there also capitalising there on Tom O'Connor. Aaron Gilbert just a little bit further down than where he really wants to be. Same with Daniel Stevens. Daniel Stevens is such a strong driver in this series, just not getting that pace that he might be used to there. Maybe with some of those technical tracks there as well, as we're just looking back there. I think that is looking back there at Tom O'Connor there. You can see Tom O'Connor so aggressive coming through that chicane section. Going to be really smooth there, but it's very hard to see those apexes as it's almost situated on a crest.
And the lack of light also will be starting to affect the drivers as well. So getting rather dark here in New York at Watkins Glen. Battle for the lead, though, starting to heat up because Henry King is right on the tail of Jaden Mollenhauer. Mollenhauer has a big slide through turn number 7. Complete lap 10. King thinking about making a move, but he's going to back out of it. But just behind, Gavin Cox is going to make the move. Slides on through. He'll take 3rd position away from Michael Ward. Henry King gets it done very quickly too.
Yes, starting to really pull a nice gap out there. So yeah, they're working well together. Those guys in 3rd and 4th, they have to be smart here, and they can still certainly catch back up. But with drivers like that out front, Henry King, Michael Ward, 2 excellent peddlers. Yeah, 1.8 seconds they are in front now, so it's going to be hard for those guys to pull that in.
We saw Daniel Stevens drop a little bit of ground before. He's now right on the tail of Tom O'Connor, who had that mistake on the previous lap. Stevens right there to pounce, and David Coleman, Nathan Tregarthen have just had a change of position too, so Tregarthen through into position number 8 now. In his plain car, plain Jane. No sponsors on his car at the moment, running solo. Daniel Stevens, he should get this move done. No, backs out of it a little bit earlier on the break. I think he's conserving the front tyres at the moment.
Yeah, not a bad strategy. Out of 6 hours with the weekend, and yeah, certainly that front tyre by the end of a stint in a GT car, it was down to sort of 20% wear. So you can imagine what these V8 supercars will be chewing them up.
Mollenhauer and King have now broken out about 2 seconds from Gavin Cox. We saw them side by side, Cox and Ward, a couple of moments ago, and that's meant that the gap from 2nd to 3rd is well and truly stretched out, and Aaron Gilbert will be the one that's lost out most because he hasn't been able to stick like he was able to in race 1 with Henry King. Further, we saw the gap between Gilbert and King in race 1 was around about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Out to 3.5. It's going to be tough for Aaron Gilbert to close that back, even though we know that he's got great late race pace. If I can actually get my English out. It's going to be interesting to watch. We did see Aaron Gilbert did have some really good pace at the end, but I don't know if he's got enough that he can bridge that sort of gap.
Yeah, certainly going to be pretty tough now. Henry's been around for such a long time, and he's so consistent in the V8. We don't really see him right at the top of the field when it comes to, you know, V8SCOPS itself. But yeah, when it comes to enduro racing, he's so consistent, never makes mistakes, and yeah, these guys have certainly their work cut out for them.
Cox, Ward, Gilbert, Stevens, and Tregarthen and Coleman all in this battle pack together. That's a big mistake there from Michael Ward. He's going to lose 2 spots. Through goes Gilbert, through goes Stevens. So this will be interesting to see how quickly Aaron Gilbert can close back up to the car of Gavin Cox in 3rd. It's around about 0.7 of a second at the moment. I'm going to say by the end of this lap. What are you thinking on that, Nick? Are you thinking that he's going to be able to close in this gap, or is it too far gone for Gilbert, even though he had some great pace later on in that race? Oh, looks like we've lost Nick.
Seems to have gone. Okay. they'll take over that one. Sorry, Joe, what was the question, mate?
I was asking about the pace from race 1 of Aaron Gilbert, but I don't think it's really going to matter because you didn't get to see race 1. You were off at a meeting. It looks like
here we go.
Nick's back.
He can comment now. He's back.
I've forgotten what my question was, but I mean, what my thinking was isn't actually going to happen. My thinking was that Aaron Gilbert might have been able to get to the back of Gavin Cox, but hasn't been able to do it on that one lap, as I just see another little mistake in the background. Tom O'Connor, you thinking that this gap is too big for Gilbert to close back in on Henry King, or is he still going to be able to do it with 12 laps to go?
It is a pretty tight gap there. Sorry, welcome back. Had little mice or something were eating through the electrical cables here at the house because it cut absolutely everything out, but we're all back online here. So you might have to fill me in on what's happened in the last 30 seconds or so, but it does look like everyone's pretty bunched in there together there at the moment. I think that's Aaron Gilbert there in the middle of the two middle finger racing cars.
Yeah, so he wasn't able to close the gap in on that last lap, but he definitely has on this lap.
Coleman. Big moment for Coleman. Was it Coleman? No, maybe not Coleman.
Tregarthen.
Green.
Nathan Tregarthen in the silver car. A little whoopsie. Able to keep it going, luckily. Lost the spot from that. He dropped behind David Coleman. The front of the field, Henry King, still punching in very, very quick lap times. Having a few connection issues, though. Jaden Mollenhauer, very, very consistent in his laps. But Aaron Gilbert, last lap by, the fastest car out on track. There is still time left in the race. If he can get up to Gavin Cox and then potentially pass, maybe with a couple of laps, there may still be time for Aaron Gilbert to close in on this battle at the front.
It's great seeing in the dark as well there, the flames coming out there, but yeah, you can see Henry King absolutely dominating there. Well and truly outside of striking range, even outside the drafting range there, so making it pretty tough there for the likes. Those middle finger cars there behind. We've also got, I think that might be
that's Mollenhauer.
Mollenhauer they're having a pretty quiet race there at the moment. It's a very tight gap there for Aaron Gilbert.
Yeah, and what it's done is actually opened the door for Daniel Stevens to come and get the move done. Because Gilbert was compromised on that inside line, lost the momentum through the corner. Now he's stuck on the outside. Big advantages with the camber of that corner. You can hold it around the outside in these cars, but run up the S's is a different story. This is hurting Aaron Gilbert a lot because he was wanting to get the move done and try and start to close into the lead. He's now lost about a second just from that one little mistake.
Yeah, so easy to lose time around this track, eh? And it's just one little mistake, and there you go, your draft's gone. So, it's really important that if you do get with a car around you, and you guys aren't enemies on the track and had previous bad run-ins together, and then you got to quickly communicate to each other to work together to make your way up.
10 laps to go in this race. Here in the 2021 V8SCOPS Support Series presented by RacingSims.co.nz. This is the 7th event of this support series. The Watkins Glen 250 V8SCOPS this weekend. It's around the outside goes Tom O'Connor. He's got it to work around the outside. What a move.
That's good move there. You're going to get the good run up the hill now.
Going to hold on to the position because he's just dropped Michael Ward off at the right point to force Ward to actually lift out of the throttle a tiny little bit. Good move there for Tom O'Connor, and David Coleman also coming in now to potentially get a move done. Dan Stevens also closing the gap in.
Seeing Dan Stevens there that power of that draft there as he just on the back there of Aaron Gilbert. Really starting to hit the business end now there, so we should see Aaron Gilbert being last round or the last race winner here. Did a really good job there of conserving that front left tyre, so had a bit of an experience with it doing it now, so should hopefully be able to potentially even ramp up that pace a little bit more here in these final laps.
You see the run that the draft gives you up through the S's as well. You can see the big advantage there of the car of Daniel Stevens. And he now starts to close in with the draft. Not quite close enough, but I think in turn one's probably your best passing spot. Because he's got such a big, long run into the bus stop chicane. Not necessarily the best spot to make a move, but the bus stop chicane, you can throw a late move in there and force your opponent wide just based off that banking. It does enable you to make different sorts of passes, as we saw before with Tom O'Connor around the outside.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Joe. You have to be certainly pretty committed in there, and the person you're going past certainly needs to be respectful and give you racing room. And yeah, we've seen some fantastic passes done through there, and yeah, it all depends on where you're going to sit. If you're on the outside for that big long sweeping right, you're back in trouble, because it's so off camber that you might as well just get off the throttle and let the guy go.
Henry King's broken that gap out at the front to over 3.5 seconds now. Gilbert not able to match the pace of Henry King at the front. And Gavin Cox starting to close in on Jaden Mullenhauer as well. But Cox has had some very, very good pace over the last couple of laps, and the gap between he and Mullenhauer is now at a second. Second is the magical number that we always talk about in regards to races like this, because that is about where the draft starts to come into play. If you're within a second of the car ahead, you're going to get a bit of a draft effect and be able to tow up to the car in front. It'll be a big advantage right now with only 7 laps to go for Gavin Cox to potentially get himself onto the second step of the podium.
Yeah, you can just see they're all close in there through that first corner. No one really in a position there to get any overtakes or anything done through there. It's a great New York sunset, as we can kind of catch there in the background. Doesn't look too bad from the outside here, but you're exactly right on your point before there, Jay. It's going to be a little bit difficult for the drivers to see. They'll have the tail lights of the cars in front as well. That might be a little bit of a distraction as well. So it's almost playing into Henry King's favour there, having that clear road, nothing to distract him. He can just kind of chip those laps away.
Mullenhauer to Cox is now down to 0.7 of a second, so that gap has closed around about 0.3 just in this lap so far, and all through the final, through the run up to the bus stop. The run through the carousel is where all of that time has been gained, so all in drafting zones on this track. Mullenhauer is now really going to have to work hard to hold on to this spot. 5 laps to go, only 5.5 minutes of racing left. These laps are flying by. Under 70 seconds for a lap around this circuit. They are really quick laps.
Sam too, just as those tyres start to wear away, coming through that almost that uphill S's there that we just saw Gavin Cox go through there. Start of the race when the tyres are really clean there, they can really hold it on flat as they come through there, but you can just hear them lift ever so slightly coming through then, not to unsettle the car there. That left to right, a little bit of a momentum there. Gavin Cox said just a little bit of pace there that he's off a little bit. That's pulled, that might be Aaron Gilbert in there behind him as well. So it's starting to really heat up here for these minor podium positions.
One
100%.
thing just to mention is, sorry Joe, just to the track temperature. I'm not sure what it was for the previous races, but yeah, 22 degrees. Obviously the sun's gone right down, so that'll help look after that left front tyre and sort of sustain it through to the end. Certainly for Henry anyway, that gap's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, we're sitting around between 30 and 32 degrees for race 1, so 10 degrees
Yeah,
cooler.
there you
The air temperature also is a lot lower as well, so it does change the horsepower output of these cars with the different air temperature. Cox, Gilbert, Stevens, all trying to get this position. They all want a podium spot, and they all want to try and get past Jaden Mullenhour, and Jaden's doing a really good job of holding onto this position. He's just eyes forward at the moment. He's not even worrying about these guys behind. Cox will start to get impatient soon because he knows he's got more pace, but having more pace doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get a pass done.
That's exactly right. Yeah, especially around a place like this. You've got to set it up well, and you can get past him, but the next straight, you can fly straight past you again.
Yeah, that's a big concern about getting a move done at turn 1, isn't it? Because the driver that you get past can often slingshot straight back past you, and as we saw before, if you can't get the move done, it leaves you vulnerable to lose the spot, as we almost saw Aaron Gilbert do before. So that is something that these guys have to take into consideration. Not easy to get moves done at this circuit at the best of times, but here comes Gilbert and Cox both looking to make a move. Mullenhour doesn't care, he just holds his line and takes the normal racing line, and actually uses that to his advantage because he has much more momentum through the exit of the bus stop chicane.
I reckon that would have to be one of the best series of corners for any racetrack, that bus stop chicane. It's so fast and flying. When you get it right, you make up so much time. And but yeah, to nail it every time is always a bit of a challenge.
2 laps to go. Dan Stevens on board with him, currently in 5th position. You can see just ahead, looking to make a move, not quite close enough, is Aaron Gilbert. And it's a huge slide from Gilbert. That's position done. So Dan Stevens gets one of the easiest ones. Maybe not the easiest ones he's got all night, considering what happened in the Legends before. He's now into position number 4. Also saw that run through the final corner, turn 1, did hamper Gavin Cox as well, because he was trying to follow Mullenhour, who had a little lock-up. Forced Gavin Cox to get on the brakes a little bit more aggressively, cost him a little bit of time at the exit of the first turn. Henry King goes past our static cam. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all together. Gavin Cox, Dan Stevens almost side by side. We come up to get the white flag. 1 lap left in this round of the Trucking Legends. Of the V8 Support Series. We've already done the Trucking Legends. Mullenhour holding on to this 2nd position. Will he be able to hold it on for 1 more lap?
I'm sure he can. Just wait and see though. Some big drafting opportunities. Here we go. It could see the likes of Stevens take advantage of this. At the right to the gap. Who's going to break the latest? Side-by-side action. Oh, what a fantastic move. The rear comes out. He holds onto it, gets a little bit of a shunt. How's your father? And he's going to be on the outside.
Gavin Cox, what a move to apply the pressure to Jaden Mullenhour. Force a minor error. It was the smallest little error from Mullenhour, but it's enough for Gavin Cox to get alongside. He's going to chop across in front and take the position away. Dan Stevens off in the grass. He's going to lose the spot to Aaron Gilbert, but Henry King is going to pick up the win here at Watkins Glen in the V8 Support Series. Who is going to take the next position? Cox. Mullenhour just pips Aaron Gilbert and Dan Stevens. The Cox finishes in 2nd position with that beautiful move at the carousel. But Henry King picks up the win. Great drive from him. But what a finish there in the end. And Gilbert, 4th. That will hurt that championship lead because Gavin Cox and Henry King both take points out of him in this race. That will not be what he wanted to do. Henry King tries to light it up, and he does.
Plenty of power there with those V8 supercars. Being able to rip a pretty big skid. He'll be very happy with that. Picked it out really well there. Unfortunately for Aaron Gilbert, winning the first round, coming just outside of those podium positions there for this race.
This is the results from race 2 in the V8s, with Henry King picking up the win from Gavin Cox. Jaden Mullenhauer in position number 3, Aaron Gilbert in 4th, Dan Stevens in 5th. Those 2 to 5 positions only separated by 1.5 seconds in the end. Tom O'Connor in 6th, Michael Ward finishes in 7th, with Anthony Green, David Coleman and Nathan Tregarthen rounding out the top 10. Over the page to Mark Dial, who finished on the lead lap. We saw Simon Mazzoma with those issues at turn 1 midway through the first phase of the race. He unfortunately finished a lap down after having to get damage repaired. What a night of racing we've had. We'll wait a moment before we wrap it up and see if we get anyone in for an interview. But what a fantastic night of racing. 3 fantastic races, and Watkins Glen is definitely going to put on a show for V8SCOPS come Sunday evening. Of course, V8SCOPS here on SimSpeed TV. Premier series of V8 sim racing in Australia and New Zealand. You can catch that from 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time Sunday night. The best of the best in this sort of tin top racing out there to try and take on each other and take the championship crown. Who will take that crown? Will it be someone from Altus? Will it be someone from Trans-Tasman Racing? Or will someone else come in, throw a surprise? I think we'll wrap it up because nobody is looking like they're going to come in for a chat. Cam Dance, thanks to him for his help earlier on. Nick Skrayev and Scott Fountain, thank you boys for jumping in.
No worries. Good to jump back in again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jay.
We will leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching tonight here at SimSpeed TV for the V8SCOPS support series. Big thank you as well to racingsims.co.nz for their support of this series as well. We'll be back for V8SCOPS supports in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, we thank you very, very much for watching, and we hope to see you for V8SCOPS on Sunday night.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going in the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
6 very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?